Problem.
And it wasn't even just that kid, and it wasn't even just what happened in Kenosha. But Thomas, I know you had a pretty scary situation you had to deal with over the weekend as well. You know, and then let me just say, for starters, I know you're a veteran, as you stated, and I think it's highly disrespectful for a veteran to be treated the way you were. And just over a hat for that matter. I mean, I said in the podcast that back in Chicago, everybody had this mentality of you do you. No one had to fight with each other. No one had to disrespect or look down on each other or go to crazy extremes.
Yeah.
And that's something missing up here. And I feel so horrible for you to go through what you did over a hat.
I really appreciate the sentiment. I always push back a little bit, though, that veterans. There's a lot of heroes out there more than veterans.
Well, but you guys are on the front line in a more extreme, heinous situation more than what most people do in a daily life.
Sure.
So take us back to what happened.
Well, I've been unemployed for a few weeks, this COVID thing, and I've been getting kind of into a routine. I get up sometimes in the morning, sometimes I won't drink till like 4 or 5, but we'll get a little bottle of vodka at Flanagan's in Appleton. And then I'll walk back to Quick Trip, and it's like it's just a thing that I do, like almost naturally, right? Like your daily routine. And I don't have a lot of money, so I don't have a lot of hats. So I got a mega hat. My mom bought it for me in South Dakota. And so, that became my thing. I just always wore it, like a Packer hat. You're not thinking about, today I'm going to put my Packer hat on.
Yeah.
It wasn't like that. That's not how it was at all.
Just fabric.
And and then there was another factor that made it unfortunate too, is I was going up a different street because I was taking that to my buddy's house to drink it, and it brought me right further into the crowd than I ever would have been. So I was like, man, and then when I realized, I'm getting kind of close here, and then some people started yelling at me, and as they were getting closer, they elicited, because they started coming out. I said, "Make America Great Again," and I consider saying that in that situation, incendiary language, and so that's the whole thing. That's the one thing I really wish I wouldn't have done. I don't, I'm not so worried about the sentiment. I have a right to say that, but you're looking down, you're looking at the whole thing, and it's like, man, shouldn't have said that.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it's in the moment. You're in that situation. You're like, and I'm sure you didn't mean it as a divisive way, because even the statement itself, "Make America Great Again," we all live in America. So that doesn't make any sense to me. But it's become such a divisive thing. But continue, man.
Yeah, no, so it was like, it wasn't like a screw you kind of thing.
Yeah.
You're going to shout, I have a right to say one thing back, kind of like, and if I would have had time to think about it, like you're saying, I wouldn't, but it's like, sticking up for myself, maybe a little bit of arrogance or whatever, but
right.
So that was my fault of the whole thing, and then all of a sudden they started coming at me there was probably 150, 200 of them in there. They were coming towards me, but only about 7 broke ranks. The ones who were probably
wait, time out. Hold up. Let me slow you down. You said there was about 152 people.
I think there was probably 150 people in the crowd.
Holy.
I could be mistaken, but it was a large one.
Jeez.
And it was coming down. Richmond at me, and then about 7 people. After I got into a spat with one of them, broke out from the middle of it, and they're the ones who took my hat off. They're like, man, screw your "Make America Great Again," and they grabbed my hat, threw it on the ground, and then they started playing like hot potato with it while I was trying to chase it back. And I was wondering, I didn't think actually still it would get violent. I figured I'd get my hat back. It'd be a screw you, because they haven't gotten violent in Appleton.
Yeah.
They've gotten real rowdy, but they haven't actually been violent. So the violence is actually moving further north now.
Wow.
So then, but then all of a sudden, once the first person punched me in the face like that, the mob mentality kicks in, and people don't even know really why they're doing it. It's just, this guy's got to be destroyed.
Wow.
So then, and they bloodied up my nose pretty bad, but I was wiping it off. It was the one sucker punch, but a younger kid in the back of the head towards the end of the conflict that really kind of threw me out of my, I was keeping my cool, but once I got that last sucker punch to the back of the head, that was, then all of a sudden I was like, more aggressive and out of it. And I was like, But I was still kept my hands up the whole time, being extremely cognitive that somebody could record and make sure I'm not here to hurt anybody.
Yeah. Wow. So what was running through your mind during that situation where everyone's just like mob mentality kicking in, like, what were you thinking?
I'm thinking, I fight for these people's rights. I like the fact that they're protesting, but at this very moment, I was more of a I live here and I have a right to, like, people can't just come and take my hat off my head because they don't like something I said or
right.
Like that. I have to defend myself because I've seen it happen so many times, and I've always thought, if somebody tries to harass me, I'm not going to just walk home. And you saw him home, and I'm like, I'm not going home. Give me my hat back. I live here. You go home. Don't tell me to go home. Like,
yeah,
crazy. I live here. I live 4 blocks away. So that's what they were trying to do, is shame me. They're trying to be like, put me on camera, like, look at this guy. He's got his "Make America Great" hat on, and he's taking the walk of shame. That's what they were looking for me to do.
And this was after they've assaulted you, right?
This is all after they beat me up. And I was trying to get my hat back because I was in a daze when I got punched. I was like, "You guys, give me my hat, and I'll leave." No, you're not getting your hat back. I was like, "Well, I'm not leaving without my hat."
Yeah.
And they're like, leave them. Like, so what they're trying to do is say, it's our hat now, not yours, and you leave. And I'm like, no, it's not your hat now. It's my hat still. And, I don't want it back. So in my mind, I wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to hurt anybody. I was going to defend myself if need be. No weapons. I don't carry weapons around. I'm not that kind of guy.
Right.
They hurt me down and stuff, so nothing like that. But I was just going to stand there and be like, I figured maybe even after all that, they would just leave, my hat would be in the road or something, and then I would pick up my hat and go home. But they weren't trying to go home. There was a cop down the street watching. They were mocking the cop for just sitting there watching, but I think, they were trying to give the situation maybe a little time to fizz out. But as soon as it got obvious, I believe the cop watching called in the tactical team.
Goodness.
So they came and distracted me.
I can't imagine, being that officer. It's like you see something like that going on, and so many people with a mob mentality, and this one guy getting picked on over a head. And it's like, I wonder, like, to that officer, I'm so glad he called to come get you out of there. And I saw the footage of them coming to extract you. And I was very thankful to see that, because with everything that's going on right now, we're not seeing enough of that.
Yeah, and I would like to say that I was the kind of guy who was happy when I saw him first, but like most people, that it's not only about race. I'm poor, so when I saw the cops there with their guns, I thought what most people would thought. I'm like, man, I am screwed. Like, I did not want a bunch of cops with guns. I'm like, initially I was screwed, but it turned out to be much different like that. And like I said, I give credit to the police. They did an excellent job in this scenario. So they dispelled a lot of myths with the way they behaved.
Do you think more of that needs to happen?
Yeah, that was perfect. I've been arrested by cops. Like I said, when I had my anti-law enforcement things, my encounters was by, regular city cops and situations like that, and undertrained cops. These were clearly, you could tell that these cops were educated. And I don't put a stock in education, but you could tell by the way they were talking to me. They had psychological training. They had probably all had 4-year degrees probably.
Wow. So what do you mean, like, when you mean like the way they spoke to you, like, if you can clarify that, like, what do you, like, how,
yeah,
like,
so,
yeah, go ahead.
When a regular cop, and I don't want to blame cops for this because it's their job. They have to treat everybody like a criminal to eliminate suspects. So it's their tendency to really come after you and not really think for a second. You could be innocent. They just come in, they don't explain themselves. If you ask, you get arrested too. It's like, I'm going to arrest you too for asking.
Yeah.
These guys were like, megaphone, this guy's not under arrest. You tell me you're not under arrest. I'm just here to protect you, all this stuff. And actually convinced me about halfway through that actually I'm not in trouble. At the time, I wouldn't think I could be convinced.
Right.
Because when I saw when they were taking me to jail to talk to me.
Yeah.
And first they told me, they're like, we're taking you somewhere safe. And they took a left down Walnut. And I was like, no, you're taking me to jail.
Yeah.
They're like, no, we're taking you to the police station. I was like, man, right. So
yeah.
I wasn't even buying it at first.
What a day.
They never put any cuffs on me, and they just took a statement and they let me go. They let me walk home. I didn't want to ride. So.
So you even end up walking home even after that.
Yeah, I did. They offered me a ride. They said it was probably best, but the kind of guy, if I rode in the back of a cop car, I wouldn't sleep for 2 nights. So
yeah.
I don't want none of that, yeah.
Now, one thing I'm curious about, because a large crowd of that number and that size, did any of them follow you when you were going home, or like find out where you live and all that?
No, I live close by, and I did actually today. I noticed someone who I believe I noticed from there. I was in Quick Trip across the street. And I thought I noticed him, and then he stared at me the whole time when he left. So, and that's never happened to me in the whole 2 years I've lived here. So, definitely somebody recognizing me and not being happy with my face.
It's such a damn shame when you see people getting treated like this, just over
Absolutely.
a hat. I mean,
absolutely.
you got large crowds out here who want to be heard, who want justice, want to be respected and all that. But then you go and harass a guy over a hat, and he can't say "Make America Great Again." You know what I mean?
I completely hear you. And this speaks towards like the media manipulation that we've been talking about, like this 100%. Because how could a phrase like that be? We ask ourselves, be so divisive, and it's like, well, what we talked about before. It's not something that just all of a sudden starts right now. It's years of priming. They've associated that phrase with all the negative stereotypes, racism, bigotry, all these other things, and we're talking about the man who assaulted the group who assaulted Tom. I would say average of them probably young guys, right? Not understanding a whole lot about what's going on. So of course they're very impressionable. And we were just talking about earlier. There's a lot of like things that they're embracing and they're acknowledging, to the point where if they're constantly on the media and they're seeing the media is telling them, hey, this phrase represents racism, this phrase represents bigotry, this phrase represents that, and then they go out and they see another individual like Tom who's wearing it, and it's just, dude, it's a hat. To Tom, it's a hat. I'm going to go get some food. It's a hat. To them, you are the worst person in the world.
And yeah, the proof of that is on the video that Zeb shared in the comment section.
Can I play that? Would you mind, like, if we end up playing that?
No, I wasn't going to talk about the video. Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to say there was some people in the comment section who were like, no, somebody rationalized on my behalf. Spencer was telling me, they're like, well, he was wearing a "Make America Great" hat on, so it doesn't really matter what he has to say. And that was the prevailing attitude.
Wow.
That it didn't need explaining. I had that hat on, and that's all the explanation that really needed to be done.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know what area he's talking about, Drew, because I lived in that area for about a year. And that area wasn't really known to really have a high crime rate or a lot of crazy stuff. But once in a while, you would have something. So for something like this to happen, and I know what Quick Trip he's talking about, because I've been to that Quick Trip.
Yeah.
I know that area. And it's kind of like the downtown area of Appleton, Wisconsin. It's a high-class district.
Wow. So it just goes to show you, like, it doesn't even matter where you are. It's actually genuinely getting bad. So it's definitely more than just like politics. I think this is very, very serious. We got to start, like, go ahead.
I compare it to a natural disaster. Impact-wise, you hear about natural disasters on the news, and then you hear about a natural disaster where you were born, and also it's like, ooh. Yeah,
it's one thing hearing it and seeing it from a distance, and it's another thing just seeing it home. Even now, like, since we go back to like the whole George Floyd thing, the protest that started in Madison, that obviously started out peaceful, and how it got crazy and everything like that. You walk downtown Madison right now, boarded up buildings. And I grew up here for years. This is my home. This is what I call it. This is everyone I knew. I'm an East Sider, natural East Side Madison. And you go in, you've seen all this stuff, and all of a sudden, the street they used to walk down, it's no longer safe anymore because people are just on 10 walking around. Now you look at buildings, they're busted, glass busted. Some of them have gone out of business, not coming back. And it's like, what happened? What happened here? Where did we drop the ball? Is where I'm just confused at right now.
Yeah, I think sorry, go ahead. No, go ahead. Yep.
Go ahead. I'll save my question for after. Go ahead, Tom.
No, yeah, I was telling him I think that it's when the hyper-partisan stuff started in our country, it started bad, and it's just that kind of tension for long enough eventually is going to turn into exactly what it's turning into. I could see it coming for several years already. Yeah. And I see the path that we're on. We're going to continue on it unless something changes.
In your opinion, what do you think? Where do you think that's headed? Where do you think that path's headed? If our politicians right now, if our leaders refuse to take charge and actually take responsibility like they should, where do you see all this going, man?
violent. They're going to places where people are going to have a little bit different mentality about riders, looters who are not right in the thick right now, who might be ready to pull the trigger. And then all of a sudden 2-3 people start dying, 20-30 people get shot in a day, 30-50-70. That's the path we're on.
Do you think that qualifies with the label of a civil war, or do you think it's something different?
I mean, you could do that if you want. I don't like to use that word because it's like it has connotations like you're trying to scare people, and so I don't want to civil war. Like that's the first thing everybody said. It could that's the path we're on. That eventually it could get to that, but that's not what it would just be. Boom, civil war. I think it would start with casualties going up higher every day, as far as people getting into it and deciding they don't want to take it anymore.
Right.